Hey there, kids and coaches. It's Josh Lyons with the breakdown. Going to cover the Cubs trade within the last week, as well as a quick overview of what I saw at the Rose Bowl in anticipation and a prep and breakdown for the Peach Bowl tonight. We are brought to you by Game Day Bloomington. Game Day Bloomington for all of your men's health, testosterone replacement therapy, sexual performance supplement, and weight loss needs. Also being brought to you today by Shalubies. Shalubies, certainly a real place. On to our first topic for the day. So we have the Chicago Cubs trade I spoke to about, I think, 2 days ago. So some of the numbers are in, or some of the stats are in. What it looks like at the end of the, ink being wet on paper is Edward Cabrera from Miami under 3 years of club control. So that was an unknown variable as of the last breakdown, was how many years of control did we have, and we got the full names and positions and ranks of the three-person trade that went to Miami. So let's talk the pros and what the trade does for the Cubs. So what it looks like right now is Edwin Cabrera coming into the Cubs rotation, projected to be a number two, so definitely not an ace. He's coming off a 3.53 season ERA average, which is pretty much what I thought, about a little bit higher than what I thought for last year. But he had one of the better arms at trade deadline going into the second half of the season, and was a target, but just didn't have any deals get made with that Miami club. But probably a second man in the rotation. The projected rotation right now looks like Matt Boyd. Matt Boyd, if he stays healthy, anchoring the top of that rotation. Last season, he started off as our first half ace and had a very decent first half of the season, and then fell off the second half of the season with injury and time out of the rotation, which actually brought up Colin Ray. That would leave Edward Cabrera being our second man. Our third man slated to be Cade Horton. Cade Horton, the rookie, came out last year with not a lot of hope. He was looking at basically being a fourth or fifth starter on the rotation, a plug and play, but really ended up putting up really great numbers in the first half. I mean, all the way to making the All-Star team. But then kind of showed his rookie year as freshman nativity on the back half of the season, and once the big league hitters were able to kind of pick up his ball, had a struggle in the second half. His numbers didn't show as strong, but Cubs are projecting him to be third. That leaves Shota Imanaga going to be our four man in the rotation, and then James Talion as our fifth. That's pretty much what I expected based on who we had left in the rotation from last year. That does leave us with Javier Assad, who picked up a couple starts last year. Ben Brown mostly played as a relief pitcher, but I do think that he had 2 to 3 starts when some of the injuries were up, as well as Jordan Wicks. And so not a huge amount of pitching there. But what we did see last night, Justin Steele did sign for one more year, I think like $6.7 million. So Steele's got some starting potential. He started before and chewed up some innings for the club. I believe it was in the 2023, perhaps 2024, and then Steele got hurt last year, so he was out. So we'll see what he ends up doing. His recovery from Tommy John from 2024 is going to be interesting. So it could be huge boom, or it could be a huge bust, but not projected to at least start the season in the rotation. Probably work him into the rotation, and maybe, if he shows the stuff that he did have pre-injury and he gets to back, I could see him starting as a 4 or 5 and taking over that role for Talion by the end of the season. Those are the big pickups and pros for the Cubs. Like 3-year control for a number 2 pitcher. Not it's. I was afraid of the trade before I knew how many years. I thought maybe it was only a 1 year of control or possibly 2. But now that I know it's a 3 season, that mitigates some of my worry. But let's take a look at what the Cubs lost. So, as reported on Tuesday or Wednesday, the Cubs are trading their number 3, their number 1 overall prospect in outfielder Owen Casey. Casey comes MLB ready. He put in some time at the end of last season for the Cubs. Had some decent at bats and some decent hits, timely hits for the Cubs. So Miami's getting a game ready outfielder, which is Miami's outfield is a bit depleted. Although he's a rookie, he's going to be able to add some energy and some very capable bats for that Miami outfield. What the Cubs also lose is infielder Christian Hernandez. Christian Hernandez, mostly playing shortstop, was one of the top prospects, both MLB and the Cubs, for several years. He ends up being the overall 47th, number 47 MLB prospect. So Owen Casey, Cubs number 1, overall number 11. And for the Cubs, Christian Hernandez, overall number 3, MLB overall 47. So, the Cubs are taking a hit there with 2 top 100 overall prospects and really trading position strength for pitching, controlled pitching for the next 3 years. So that's what you're going to lose. The last player is Edward De Leon. Not really familiar with him. He came out of the international draft and is only 18. So not outside of like fall stats and some of the winter stats that have been generated this year. No playing time, nothing really to be able to tell you yes or no. But at some point, the Cubs thought, probably through the Dominican Cub School, thought that he was of some value. So the Cubs have offered him a contract, and at this point, another position player infield already traded him off to Miami to develop. So the big hit there for the Cubs is you're looking at an already pretty depleted farm league system, just getting fleeced. I mean, we're losing 2 top 100 prospects. We're getting 3 years of pitching control for in the Cubs organization, a 2-starter. I would say a 3 or 4 in most other organizations. So we'll see what happens. I mean, the luck could be with us and the numbers could shine. Take a Cubs bounce this season. Hopefully that's the case. But it always hurts to deplete guys that you've had in your system, all the way up from international draft in the case of Hernandez, and all the way since draft in the case of Owen Casey too. The bigs, and those are players that a lot of the minor league fans follow. From South Bend to the Smokies to Iowa, and then into the Cubs organization. So. Yeah, that's going to hurt. It's going to hurt the AAA team even more so, losing probably their biggest bat and their best player for the season. Already having lost Matt Mervis to Japan last season, and we'll see where the AAA team ends up being. But with that, we will transition from the Cubs news. And we will transition over to the Bison hat for some breakdown of what I saw in the numbers and saw live during the Rose Bowl. So, the Rose Bowl game, the biggest stat that stood out to me, and what is going to be the key for tonight, is time of possession. So, Alabama time of possession, 25 minutes, 35 seconds. Indiana time possession, 34 minutes, 25 seconds. So that says it all. The most dangerous thing right now in college football is Curt Cignetti team with the football. And Alabama either didn't believe that hype or didn't execute its plan to keep the ball away from Curt Cignetti's offense. The offense showed and I'll break down some of the numbers. The offense showed the ability not only to control the ball, the time of possession by having the ball, but control the rhythm and the pace of the game. It was an absolute from coin flip through the ceremony. It was an absolutely Indiana paced game. The big accolades and the big hat tip go to the key difference maker that I pointed out in the last breakdown, and that was Pat Coogan and his captaincy of the offensive line. The offensive line during the Rose Bowl absolutely executed every play, every block that they had to, and maximized the time for Fernando to work down through his checkdowns, to work down through his gameplay, his pass plans, and or blocked and made the blocking plays that they needed to in order to free the field up for the running game. And with that line controlling the football, controlling the pace, and you even saw that was on the defensive side, but it played on the defensive side as well. The discipline on the line. I mean, that it was there, and that's the reason why Pat Coogan got named captain or MVP of the Rose Bowl as a starting center for Indiana. I mean, that's the first time in I think 58 years that had happened, and that kind of says it all. I mean, that's what set the pace of the game. That's what set the pace of control when they were able to set the rhythm and make Alabama play at their pace. It was over. And the minute that they acquiesced that pace and couldn't take it back and couldn't take back any momentum at any point during the game, it was done. What do the numbers tell us? Well, as I said, Indiana already owned time of possession, which was deadly. Indiana could score fast if they wanted to, or they could absolutely control the pace of game by running the ball between Hemby and Kalon Black. Hemby and Kalon Black were good for 2 to 3 yards almost every touch. It was a beautiful thing to see. So again, what do the numbers tell us? Well, the numbers tell us total yards were 193 Alabama, 407 for Indiana, and that 407 is broken down almost equally, which again shows a very balanced offense, a very adaptable if need be, but the total passing yards for Mendoza were 192, rushing yards 215. So you see a little bit more with the rushing, and I mean the reason why that is with time of possession and eating up clock, you're running a lot more short yardage, just burn clock down type of plays. Average yards per play, 3.9 for Alabama, 6.2 for Indiana. So you're seeing that be raised up with some yards after catch or some yards from the line of scrimmage. Again, just balanced attack, great blocking happening, and really the line just winning that football game against the Alabama, the SEC style play. So one thing that interested me was third down conversions. Alabama was 3 for 11. So Indiana defensive line, really stuffing that ball, really holding that Ty Richardson and the team back when it came time to try to make a play and just not giving back that momentum. That was really another key that I saw. And they forced a fumble and lost a fumble, and so the defense again getting a turnover and giving the ball back to Indiana, which is one of the things that defense is really, really good and has been really, really good at doing this year. So that is what I saw. I saw a very cool, calm, and collected Indiana team. They talked, in the media about Indiana meeting the moment and all those other things. The hype, the hoopla, we're playing Alabama, all the things that come with the first Rose Bowl since 1967, B, playing in Alabama in a college football playoff, C, being a first round bye going in, all those things hanging over their head. And the talking heads, who get paid millions of dollars to do it, had it absolutely wrong. You watch any of the things, it was Alabama this, Alabama that, SEC this, SEC that, first round buys, Coach Signetti not ready, team not ready. I saw a primed, cool, calm, collected, offensively minded, well captained, and disciplined team take the field and control that ball and control the pace of the game the entire time. So, what do I see going forward with the Peach Bowl? Well, just like with the Rose Bowl, you have to recognize the disparity in height of the Oregon receiving corps and some of the Indiana backs. I mean, what we're looking at in an Oregon team is a team with 11 5-stars on it. We're looking at an Oregon team with 6'4" plus receivers on it. We're looking at an Oregon team that is healthier than the last time we played them at Eugene, where the score was 30-20. So, what Oregon brings to the game this time that they didn't have in the fall was Oregon had a depleted wide receiver corps. They were down to, I think, really only one of their starting wide receivers, and they were banged up a little bit on defense. But their backs were healthy. We see the exact opposite of that for the Peach Bowl today. We see a healthy wide receiver corps. We see a more healthy defense, but we see a depleted back situation. So Oregon's lost their number 2 run and yard producer, and I believe second or third in touchdowns for the team in their second string running back. And so with the lack of a second string running back, Indiana's ability, based on the numbers from playing Alabama and just season-wide trends and situations on the defensive side, there's going to be a lot of rushing of the quarterback. A lot of their yards, when you look at the breakdown of their last game, they absolutely smoked Tech. And so the thing that you have to be looking for is, can Neil Harrington, the starting running back, pick up those extra plays without being or becoming just tired, just worn down throughout the game, with the Indiana defense wearing down his runs, wearing down his blocks, wearing down any carries that he has. Can they force him to fumble, as his hands get tired, as he gets tired? I think that's going to be a big, huge key for Indiana, because I think that although Oregon's QB and wide receiver core weren't as touted as Alabama, based on their last performances, I think they're going to be a bigger threat. I think that their quarterback is and has been successful and knows how to watch for those individual one-on-ones. Where you have a D'Angelo Pons versus one of their 6'5" receivers, just based on however the plays and however the reads shake down. I think the quarterback, as long as he can get protection and have time, they're going to lean on the pass. And so it's going to be important for Indiana to be able to make those reads quick and either, one, get to the QB as quickly as possible, as they've shown the ability to do, have a big turnover and get the ball back to the offense as fast as possible, but also cover those wide receivers and break down any or minimize any big chunk or yardage plays that could be. Realistically, what do the numbers tell me that are going to happen? There's going to be at least one big chunk Oregon play, right? Hopefully it doesn't go for a touchdown, and Indiana has the ability, even after catch, to catch guys. They have several times this year. But the numbers just show that Oregon at some point will get a coverage will be dropped, an advantage will be taken, a pass interference call or something, a mistake made, and they'll be able to take advantage of that and get some yards. Indiana's shown the ability time and time again, though, to be able to mitigate that. And so, am I huge worried about the pass? Not really, just based on what I saw against Alabama. I mean, I could almost solely base it off Alabama, let alone the entire season of play. But the threat is there. The threat is definitely there for Oregon. Am I worried about as much with their backs? They have a great back. I mean, they absolutely do. But with them losing their second string, you're going to be relying on third string. You're not going to be as deep. And because you're not as deep, you're not going to be able to run as many clock eating up plays and time of possession plays and try to take that advantage like we talked about that Indiana exploited against Alabama. You're not going to be able to take and hold that ball without absolutely wearing down your backcourt. And so, and with that comes, exhaustion, fatigue, poor decision making, hands start to get tired, increased risk of fumble, all those things go up. So I'm looking at, there may be a couple, again, decent runs on the Alabama side, maybe even QB scramble. The Oregon QB doesn't really run very well, but he might have to in order just to gain some first downs and some yards in this game, just because of the detriment that they're at, or the deficit that they're at with the lack of backs and legs on the ground to be able to move the ball and hold the ball and eat up some time. So we'll see what happens with that line, but I think that as long as Indiana's O-line does what they have done all season, control time of play, control the ball, control the pace, control and be disciplined, I think that it's going to give Fernando and the running backs all the chance in the world to score, which is going to be great. I think that it'll also give them the ability to own the ball, control the pace, control the time of possession. I think that if the Indiana defensive line and back core can minimize big chunk yards, but also continue to get after the quarterback or pressure quarterback as much as they've had, it's going to mitigate their strength. I mean, their strength right now is the QB core and the receiving core, and they're going to be relying on that strength in order to mitigate the loss of their backup runner. And are they still going to run it? Yeah, absolutely, right. They're going to try to establish the run game in order to free up their strength. That'd be the first move that I would make. But as long as Indiana plays stout defense, does what they've done all season, I don't think that we're going to have a big issue. Line right now sits at -3.5 for Indiana, with a -180. So Indiana's favored by 3.5. I would actually take the over on this. I think that, or take the points. I think Indiana's going to win by a touchdown, solely based on what I saw last week. I think the game's going to be better. I think it's going to be higher scoring than last time. I think there's going to be some fast scores, and I think that Indiana's going to want to score fast, which is going to end up getting the ball back to Oregon, and they're going to score fast. So I think it's going to end up being a tit for tat, not an Ohio State-Indiana game, but rather a shootout type of game. I think Indiana comes out on top in that case, but I still think that the 30-20 fall score, I think they're going to surpass that. So I believe the over-under for this is 48.5. I would take the over. I think the game's probably going to be somewhere in the 55 to 60 points scored. I think it'll be one of the higher scored games of the college football playoffs. And we could break down the individual stats. I like Himby for a touchdown. I like Fernando for two plus passing touchdowns, and I would definitely take the Oregon QB for over one touchdown. I think your gamble's going to come in with the two. I think probably 1.5 is where I would feel safe putting money and go with 2. I think that's it for today. That's the breakdown. Once again, we covered the Chicago Cubs' big moves with acquisition of Edward Cabrera for 3 years, trading out 3 infield positions and their number 11, their number 1 overall prospect, their number 3 overall prospect, 3 and 11 and 47 respectively for MLB, as well as 1 international draftee. And we talked the breakdown of time of possession numbers, what I saw at the Rose Bowl, and what I expect to see at the Peach Bowl. As always, stay safe and go Hoosiers.